Welcome back for day 2 of math maintenance. Yesterday we talked about ratios, and in a ratio, we always just narrowed it down to it being two whole numbers. So we took, for example, 12 to 8, and then we broke that down until it was 3 to 2. But we didn't break it down all the way until it was something to 1. When we break it down all the way until it is something to 1, we call that a unit rate. So a unit rate is just a fancy way of saying a ratio where it's something to 1. So you have something to 1. And this can then have a decimal or a fraction or some part of a number. So it doesn't have to be a whole number. We do this work typically by just dividing. And then when we get the division done, whatever our answer is our unit rate to whatever our divisor was. So let me show you how that works. If my problem was 450 mistakes in 9 tests, and the question is, well, on average, how many mistakes is that per test? The work that we would need to do is 450 mistakes divided by 9 tests. So the math we're doing is 450 divided by 9, which is 50. And then our unit is going to be per 50 mistakes per test, or per one test. But if we just say per test, it's assumed to be one test. So all we need to do is take what we want to find out, make that the numerator, divide it by what we want those ending units to be, the per test, and that'll show us how we get our answer. So 150 calls in 6 hours. 150 calls divided by 6 hours is going to give us the ending unit of calls per hour. And then I just need to do 150 divided by 6. So if I write that over here, 6 goes into 15 twice, 12, 6 goes into 35 times. So I have 25 calls per hour. All right, somebody is charging $140 for 5 hours of work. So I'm curious what their hourly rate is. So $140 divided by 5 hours is going to give us $1 per hour rate. I have to do 140 divided by 5. This person would be making $28 per hour. That would probably be written as $28 per hour with that dollar sign out ahead of it. All right, you go to buy a box of pencils and it's $4.50 for 9 pencils. So $4.90, 9 pencils. That's going to give us our cost per pencil. So it's going to be some amount per pencil. 4.5 divided by 9. I know that 4.5 is half of 9. So I would say 50 cents per pencil. Last one. 130 liters in 2 hours. So maybe I'm filling up some containers and I was able to fill up 130 liters in 2 hours. I'm wondering how fast it's going to fill. Liters, hours. My unit then is going to be liters per hour. I would just have to do 130 divided by 2, which is 65 liters per hour. The really nice thing about finding unit rates is that it's really easy to calculate other things. So if I took this now and said, I wonder how many mistakes there would be on 20 tests, well, instead of trying to go from 9 to 20 and then multiply this by the same thing, if I know there's 50 mistakes per test, I multiply that by 20. I say, oh, I bet there'd be about 1,000 mistakes. Or here, if somebody's charging $140 for 5 hours, and I suddenly say, okay, but this job is going to take 10 hours of work, well, sure, I could double from 5 to 10 and double from 140 to 280. But what if I now say, well, it's probably going to take them 12 hours of work? Figuring out how to multiply from 5 to 12 is a little bit goofy, and then multiplying this. But if I go over my unit rate and I go, oh, your rate is $28 per hour, so I multiply that by 12. That's going to be an easier problem than trying to figure out what multiple of 5 gets you to 12. Getting down to a unit rate allows you to then work with that number more easily to generate lots and lots of other things. All right, let's talk work for today. In your packet, you have number 3 and number 4, both around unit rates. They show you how much money it's going to cost to buy whatever is shown over on the left, so 3 palm trees, and then it asks you to figure out what would the price per just one of those. So what if instead of buying 3, you just wanted to buy 1, how much money would you need? I would recommend that you add up how much money you're spending here, and then do the division problems like we just did. Dollars divided by how many of each of the items there are. Your digital activity today is on a Google form. You will see 2 products that are being sold, and you want to figure out which one is the better deal based on what their unit rate is. Your digital game today is through BrainPop. You'll be figuring out the unit rate of different items. Good luck practicing unit rates. Hopefully this was a good little review for you to jog your memory on how we find those and why they're super useful. See you tomorrow.